Hi, all. Welcome to yet another Koot Podcast Series where we discuss global SaaS adoption trends, global tech adoption trends with global industry leaders. And today we have a very special guest with us, Vijay Morampudi, who is SVP AI COE Leader at Marsh. Vijay comes with more than 2 decades of experience in AI strategies and as a GCC leader, as a startup advisor, and especially he has seen the life cycle of AI experimentation to actual business outcomes. So I'm really thrilled to have Vijay in our podcast. Thank you so much, Vijay, for finally taking out time for us and for the audience. And I'm really looking forward to learn a lot from you today. Welcome, Vijay.
Thank you, Nageshri, for having me on the show. I am really looking forward for this conversation.
Absolutely, Vijay. Absolutely. So let's start with your brief career journey, Vijay, because now, just now when we were speaking, you shared that you come from the startup background also. From the startup ecosystem, now you are in the GCC. So we will be really happy to actually listen to your career journey, Vijay.
Sure, Nageshri. I have overall 2 decades of experience. I did my BTech from IIIT Hyderabad, where I got a chance to learn about some of the AI technologies like NLP and computer vision at that point of time. I started my career as a developer, worked in various service providers, and then in 2016, that's when I moved to the field of AI. So
Okay.
initially, we used to develop some models, machine learning models for healthcare industry. Then
Hmm.
I joined a startup. So it was a very really good experience working in a startup. There we have developed many innovative solutions for customers in biopharma, agriculture,
Oh, okay.
education, and different sectors. We
Hmm.
also got an opportunity to develop a AI framework that we sold to the customers as a subscription model.
Hmm.
Overall, I can say that's a good journey that we got at that point of time. So we are able
Absolutely.
to not only build the solutions, we can able to commercialize those solutions. And
Yeah.
then I joined GCC. So
Hmm.
as you know that GCCs are going to be the key pillar for the parent organizations. So
Okay.
here currently in my organizations, I am driving the global AI initiatives for the
Okay.
risk management domain.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful, Vijay. And Vijay, now many are talking about AI, but at one end we see it's a POC graveyard where there is so many POCs. On the other end, there are actually enterprises who are actually, getting a business engine out of AI, who are actually monetizing out of AI, and who are able to show the right impact on the ROI. Now, what are your comments on this, Vijay?
See, what is happening is that many companies are using AI to boost individual productivity.
Okay.
Those gains spread thinly across employees. Productivity gains is not same as value creation, right? AI-driven productivity improvements are important,
Okay.
but they are only the first step towards creating the business value.
Uh,
I will give an example.
yeah.
If you have 10 developers and if you introduce code generation tool that saves you 40% of the time,
Hmm.
that is significant.
Yeah.
It will improve your developer experience, but it automatically won't translate into value.
Hmm.
So to create a business impact, you must harvest those saved hours, say for example, freeing the bandwidth of the top performers and
Hmm.
redeploying the capacity to high value initiatives that drive revenue growth. What
Okay.
successful companies are doing is that they are building a portfolio of AI initiatives that has a mix of enterprise transformation initiatives
Hmm.
and also has initiatives which improve the individual productivity. So they are quantifying the expected revenue and margin improvements for
Hmm.
each of those initiatives.
Okay.
At a quarterly level, they're also doing a review for capital reallocation. Say, for example, the
Yeah.
initiatives that showcase the positive signal, they are allocating budgets for scaling.
Hmm.
The
Okay.
initiatives which failed the hypothesis, they are terminating those initiatives. And they're also pivoting some of the initiatives based on the learnings from the earlier experiment. What is important here is that you need to measure the business impact not at a single initiative level. You need to measure that impact at a portfolio level.
Can you give? an example, Vijay?
Say, for example, many times, if you look at an organization, they are trying to bring in a co-pilots to improve the individual developer
Yeah.
productivity, right? So what I am saying is that if you have a team of 100 people, look at
Hmm. Yeah.
initiatives which transform the organization. Say, for example, an end-to-end transformation of the supply chain, rather than looking at the individual task in the supply chain, right? So you need to identify the whole
Yeah.
processes that you want to transform it and identify which of the
Yeah.
combination of technologies will help you to achieve the desired end state,
Got it.
right? So rather than looking at
Absolutely.
silo tasks, look at end-to-end transformations and
Okay.
build a portfolio of initiatives rather than having one initiative. Have
Hmm.
three, four initiatives, larger transformative
Yeah.
initiatives. Use
Hmm.
some bandwidth to focus on the
Yeah.
strategic initiatives, some bandwidth
Yeah.
to improve the individual productivity. So that is the way
Got
how
it.
you can able to gain more business value over a period of time.
Absolutely, absolutely, Vijay. Thanks for sharing that. Now, Vijay, you have worked with organization and you have actually seen built. You have scaled, AI from the experimentation to actually, business generating engine, right? Now, what was the hardest thing, Vijay, in that life cycle, where where is that break even actually happening, Vijay?
If you ask the hardest part, the hardest shift is achieving the organizational readiness. What I
Yeah,
mean is that value creation requires an operating model change. So, which essentially means you need to bring in the change management. What many leaders fail to understand is that they believe that technology improvements will only help us to achieve the business value. But it is understood that 70% of the effort is
yeah,
required to bring the change management. Say, for example, redesigning the processes or redesigning the roles is a bigger effort than doing the technology implementation. So what winning organizations are doing is that they are
yeah.
creating an AI council which has a mix of different businesses. Like for example, people from the business, people from technology, legal, compliance, and HR. They're
HR.
all part of this. They're all part of this AI council. So they're evaluating what are the risks that we need to address to roll
Hmm.
out these AI initiatives, and they are enabling this transformation. That's how you need to look at the long-term transformation.
Absolutely, Vijay. And you mentioned about also about productivity, right? The time that we are saving in, it should be harvested into something which is directly impacting the business. Now, I want to go a little bit, take up a follow up with that. You have also directly advised and worked closely with so many CXOs, Vijay. Now, how should a leader think so that he's not only supporting AI, but the AI is actually becoming the core, and I mean core of the business, and it is actually showing result in the business. How should the because now, as you said, it is not the technology, but it is the roles. The and from the other leaders also, I keep hearing this that they should take the ownership. I mean, the person who is handling the AI, there should be some human also there should be there in the loop, and they should take the ownership, and they should also adapt to the change management. So given all this, if you could give me clarity on this, Vijay.
Yeah, sure, definitely, right. So, when we talk about AI implementation, right, it's main, as I said earlier, you need to look at the end-to-end transformation of a process. So,
Yeah.
typically, historically, many of these processes were human-driven. We have designed the process in such a way
Mm.
that human is the key driver, and you are using technology to complete a part of the task in the workflow,
Yes.
and humans are going to hand over the task from one person to other person, and so that they are able to complete the end-to-end workflow. Say for example, if you are trying to adapt latest technologies like agentic AI, right?
Yeah.
So one of the important things that you need to understand is that what new value we can create with autonomous systems that we could not create before. For that, it is important that you need to align organizational goals with agentic AI goals. What I mean by that. So
Yeah.
when you look at the agentic AI system, they are best suited to achieve a specific goal. Right? So where do you think that agentic AI systems are best, right? Say, for example, if there are multiple paths to achieve a goal,
Yeah.
and if your operating conditions are changing dynamically,
Yeah.
and if there are a lot of dependency that needs to be resolved at runtime,
Yeah.
that's where agentic AI is best suited, right? For
Okay.
scenarios where the sequence of steps is fixed and deterministic, a simple rule-based workflow works best, right? Now look at from an organizational perspective. Your
Yeah.
organization has business goals like
Yeah.
increasing revenue,
Yeah.
increasing the customer experience, or optimizing the cost.
Yeah.
So when you are designing an agentic AI system, you need to focus not only on optimizing a specific goal, but also satisfying the other business goals. I will give you an example,
Yeah.
right? When you design a workflow to optimize the sales revenue by X percentage,
Yeah.
at the same time, you need to ensure that other organizational metrics like margins should not be lower than a certain percentage, right? So what I mean to say here is that you need to encode these enterprise goals above the agentic AI airflow layer so that you are preventing the local optimizations. You are not doing
Yeah.
the local optimizations. You are
Yeah.
trying to do it at an organization. Say, for example, as I said, right, I will give you
Can you repeat
an
that
example.
sentence, Vijay? You said something very interesting. Last sentence.
Yeah, sure, sure. I'll give you an example, right? Let me
Yeah.
give you with an
Sure.
example, right? Say, for example, you are creating a supply chain agent to make
Yeah.
the inventory decisions,
Yeah.
right? The agent is looking at the demand forecasts
Yeah.
and also looking at the supplier lead time to autonomously adjust the reorder levels. That's what your
Correct.
agent is doing.
Yes.
Now, when you are designing these systems, you need to see that how accurately it is making correct inventory decisions that meets not only the customer demand and also minimizing your costs. So you are
Absolutely. Yeah.
considering two factors, right? One
Hmm.
is meeting the customer demand and other
Yeah.
is minimizing the cost. That's where I
Yeah.
said you are not only looking at one metric,
Yeah.
while trying to optimize one metric, try to meet the other metrics that are required at an organizational level.
Got it.
The
This is.
second important thing is that when you talk about humans and
Hmm.
also the agents,
Hmm.
right? Most of the times when you are building the agentic AI systems, you are trying to give the full autonomy from the day one, right?
Correct.
And let me explain you more on how agentic AI works. This is important, right? When you
Yeah.
talk about autonomy, it basically tells you that the capability of an agent to make a decision. That's what we call it as autonomy. When you
Yeah.
talk about agency, agency means the capability of an agent to act on a decision. Say, for example, actually making an order after figuring out what is the demand that is required.
Yeah.
Authority, which is nothing but whether your agent has a permission to make a decision or
Hmm.
act on a decision.
Or maybe on
These are the three
purchases or
important things.
inventory management.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Say, for example, you designed a workflow where
Yeah.
every agents can make both decisions and also it can act on them.
Yeah.
When you launch those in production, what you need to do is that you need to run these agents in the shadow mode, not on the primary mode, until
Okay.
these agents start working in a right way so that they can meet your organizational risk appetite. You need to gradually increase the autonomy and
Yeah.
agency once your agent start making the right decisions and actions, and
Yeah.
when you believe your system is reliable, that's when you need to increase the autonomy to the highest level.
Sure.
Earlier I talked about, right, the supply chain example. If you go back to
Yes.
that supply chain example,
Yeah.
what happens initially, humans will validate whether your supply chain is agent is able to avoid the stockouts or the excess inventory. Once you
Yes.
believe the system is reliable, then you
Yeah.
gradually increase the autonomy for the agent to make decisions on its own.
Hmm.
So these are the important things that you need to understand when you are building the, especially the agentic AI.
Agents.
First thing
Yeah.
is that align your agentic AI goals with the organization goals.
Yeah.
Second thing, when you are trying to grant the autonomy and agency to your agent,
Mm.
ensure that your agents are more reliable and they are
Mm.
working in a shadow mode.
Mm.
Once you believe they are more reliable, then you gradually increase the authority for the agent to make decisions on its own and act on those decisions.
Absolutely, Vijay. Thank you so much for sharing that, Vijay. Now, a little bit shifting the gear, Vijay. Now, because you come from the startup background, now what about this, buy versus build, right? You are into large enterprises. Now, when it comes to evaluating the products, the SaaS products, right? So I think, sorry, I think I'm putting two questions in one. Let me go one by one question. First of all, how do you evaluate different, startup products, Vijay? What are the basis and what are the different factors like internal factors versus external factors on the basis of which actually the products are onboarded by the large enterprises, Vijay?
Sure. This is really an important question, right? When you are trying to build a solution which is like industry leading or first in class in your industry, which
Yeah.
is probably your own IP, right? That's where you try to prefer to build it in house. All right.
Okay.
Another important aspect that you need to consider is that when you are trying to buy a solution from the external market, right, you need to ensure that how seamlessly the solution is going to integrate with our existing enterprise system. You don't want to bring in a solution and you don't want to work that solution to work in a isolation mode, right? In an
Okay.
enterprise, there are already multiple systems in place.
Yeah.
Like the way I said, you need to do the job end to end. So you might be
Yeah.
buying a solution which will does the part of your workflow. Now bring that solution and see whether it can able to integrate with the rest of the systems. When that happens, you are trying to automate the process end to end. And
Okay.
second important thing is that many companies which are working in some specific domains, right? If you want to build a solution which are domain specific, where you want to use your own proprietary data,
Hmm.
that's where companies are trying to build these solutions in house, right? And if you are trying to build a solution which is revenue generating, trying to build a product which is revenue generating, so those are the solutions that you are trying to keep it in house. Many times it is horizontal solutions like, say for example, code generation tools
Hmm.
or observability for AI
Yeah.
agents, orchestration tools. Many
Okay.
of these tools you buy from the market. But one
Okay.
of the important caveats that we need to understand here is that technology is changing so fast, right? So whatever is good today is no longer a good 6 months down the line. So you need to think in such a way that are you trying to build the solution as a reusable component, right? So
Okay.
you are going to replace a specific component once a better version is available with a newer technology, right? So you need to have the plug and play capability in such a way that
Okay.
now I have this solution, I can take away this component, I can replace with a new component. So that's the kind of flexibility you need in an enterprise, right? So you don't want to tie up to a one specific vendor or one specific module. You want
Hmm.
to be flexible enough so that you want to take the best of the best advantage. Another important aspect is that in an enterprise, security, adhering to the regulation and governance is very, very important, right? So
Yes.
many times, if you are working in a different regions in the world, you need to follow different country specific regulations. So
Yeah.
you need to ensure that the solution that you are buying are they going to meet those country specific regulations, right?
Yeah.
Country specific language. So if you are trying to use a solution which has a voice built into it, how many languages does it support? Right.
Hmm.
So there are many other factors that you need to think about. How can you roll out your solution at a global level? Right. Does the
Yeah.
solution by default supports the global rollout, or how much level of customization do you need to do to support the global rollout? So these are some of the important factors that you need to consider while you are trying to build a solution either in-house or buying from an external party.
So, what is the one follow-up question, Vijay? So, what are the two to three non-negotiable points that it comes to in your mind before onboarding any uh, product as a vendor, Vijay?
Um, See, what as I said, if you're buying
Yeah,
from a vendor, right, then they need to be compliant as per the regulation or the
correct.
country-specific
Okay,
governance, and that is one important thing. Second thing is that how seamlessly these solutions integrate with the existing
got it.
enterprise, right? So these are the two important factors which we can't
Negotiate
ignore,
about.
right?
Ignore.
So
Yeah. So now, like, how, now I think I'll ask that question. How do you evaluate them, Vijay? And what is, say, once you have I mean, let's say you have an ask where you kind of feel that, okay, this is falling under buy category only, or maybe your internal capability is not enough to build it and doesn't make sense to build it. So you take a decision of buy now. Okay. Now from there, what is the journey, Vijay? Because enterprise is a large organization. There are many key decision makers involved. So how does it flow? And you coming having come from the GCC, now it is not only the India GCC but the HQ also involved. So how is the flow, Vijay? If you could, tell us, and how much time it takes, Vijay, approximately to onboard.
okay. I'll put it this way, right? If you look at enterprise IT spending, there are two broad types of spending. One type of spending, which we call it as running the business, right?
Mm.
Running the business is like you already have some systems, you are trying to maintain the system. The second type of spending is on growing the business.
Okay.
So typically, IT teams owns the budget for the running the business.
Okay.
For
It is the
growing the
IT.
business, yeah. So for growing the business, right? If you want to grow the business by building a product or by automating a solution, right? That's where business teams are going to sponsor for those initiatives, right? So when we talk about
Can you
when
give
we
an
talk about
example
a
while you're explaining, Vijay, if you don't mind?
sure. Yeah. So when you talk about buying a solution, right? So earlier, say for example, you decided that you want to grow the business, and if you are
Mm.
trying to build a domain-specific solution, you are working in a certain domain, and you
Yeah.
want to build a certain domain-specific solution. You found a great startup who is building a similar solution, which is required for your domain, right?
Yes.
So typically, what happens? Business has understood a business need and they will
Yes.
initiate the request, right? They have the clarity and understanding of what business is required. Then
Correct.
technology team will be onboarded. They look at the solution and they say from a technical point of view, is it meeting all the standards that is required, right?
Okay.
So is the quality of the solution good enough, right? Is it meeting the regulatory compliance, right? What is required to maintain the solution, right? What is the technology stack behind it,
Yes.
right? Is it a new technology stack or is it a
And
standards technology stack,
some
right?
of the tech stacks like SAP, they're so immune, right? They may not even uh, integrate with the AI. Please go ahead, Vijay.
Yeah, sure, right. See, especially if you are going with a newer technology stack, so we also need to understand some of this newer technology stack needs to be customized because by default it won't support your organizational needs, right? So
Okay.
how much of flexibility that you have to customize the solution to meet your organizational standards, right? How much
Mm.
the vendor is providing that support, right?
Mm.
That
Mm.
is also equally important. So many times, if you are trying to buy a solution which is core to your business, and
Yeah.
enterprise want that solution to be integrated into their core of the business. So you need to see that how easily it can be integrated. And nowadays, more than business and IT, CFOs are also looking at
Okay.
what is the ROI, right? So
Okay.
you have budgeted some amount to buy a
Yeah.
solution and you
Yeah.
have projected what is the revenue growth over a period of time, right? So
Yeah.
many CFOs are also looking into how you are going to generate the value over a period of time. So it is important for you to understand that what is the timeline that is required for you to generate more value from this
More
initiative, right?
value.
So they are not just earlier.
Absolutely.
If you look at the budgets, they are like incremental budgets. Incremental budgets means
Yeah.
like whatever the budget that is required to run the business last year, that
Yeah.
budget plus new
Okay.
budgets that what you need, that we call it incremental budget.
Okay.
Now the organizations are looking at zero based budget, which means that you are not only looking at the budget required for the new initiatives, you are trying to
Yeah.
evaluate what is required to run the existing business as well. So because now technology is changing in such a way that you can modernize the legacy systems,
Mm.
the cost of developing the new solution is also going down, right? So
Mm.
that's where you are trying to relook at the every amount that you are spending on the business, which
Yeah.
is called zero based budget. So
Okay.
the earlier approach of buying a solution for fixed amount
Yeah.
and how you are going to use the subscription license is going to change. Many times, people are looking at outcome based, right? So
Yeah.
is it going to help me to achieve the end goal for my organization, right? So what
Yeah.
is the uplift in the revenue? What is the uplift in the margin? So they are trying to map the solution outcome to the
Yeah.
organization goals, and they are trying to see, is this amount justifiable for the outcome what we are trying to achieve, right? So
Yeah.
if the if vendor or the startup is able to define this very, very clearly, how their solution is unique, how
Yeah.
flexible it is, how
Mm.
easily can it integrate with the enterprise system, and
Yeah.
how they are going to measure the end outcome rather than the number of licenses,
Yeah.
that's when it is they are able to have enter into a right contract with the enterprise.
Now, just one more follow-up question, Vijay, if you don't mind. Now, when it comes to the GCC and the HQ relationship, right? So, are our GCC leaders, IT leaders, given enough budget, or we need to give the presentations to the town hall, or So, how does that piece move, Vijay? Once we have taken the decision, okay, fine. Once the startup is also able to define the clear outcomes and clear savings, or then what is the journey after that, Vijay?
So this trend is changing so fast in the last few years, Nageshwari, right?
Okay. Okay.
In terms of the relationship between the GCC and the parent organization, it is evolving. Some of the newer GCCs, they are owning some of the enterprise mandates. So when you are owning certain part of the business, obviously they have more decision rights to take a decision on whether a certain solution, whether they can partner with a vendor, or whether they can buy a solution. At the same time, it depending upon the size of the initiative as well, right? So if
Mm.
something is very specific to a very business unit and which they believe there is a more value, obviously some of the GCC leaders are empowered to take the
Mm.
decision. There are many leaders from Indian GCCs who are heading the AI groups, right? Who are
Yeah.
chief AI officers, who are CTOs of their organization. So they have a budget where they can leverage that budget to a best extent. It is not the question of from where you are buying from, right? It's a question
Okay.
of that what the value you are trying to generate from this solution. So obviously, some of these leaders have the authority to make a decision of buying a solution
Yeah.
from the vendors, but in consultation with the HQ. When you are trying to roll out globally,
Yeah.
obviously you need to think about, right, how is this solution applicable to the different regions. So you might be talking to the other leaders within the organization. Sometimes, as I mentioned, if the solution is especially the agentic AI, right? If you are trying to buy anything on agentic AI, you
Yeah.
need to see that whether this solution is compliant as per the not only the regulations, so you are also bringing in your legal team and other teams to
Yeah.
evaluate the solution. So it's not a unique decision by one person. Like the way I said, a group of people coming together, they are
Yeah.
looking at the initiatives and see whether first thing they are evaluating whether it's a buy or build.
Build.
If it's a
Yes.
buy, okay, from where can we buy? All right, is it meeting the requirements that we have? Is it
Absolutely.
meeting the regulatory or the legal compliance? So we are looking at all of these aspects. This typically takes a little longer than expected. Enterprises won't just go beyond the new technology. So they look at whether it is adhering to all the security norms, legal norms that is required
Mm.
to go through it. So there is a sequence of steps that you need to follow before we get in a third party solution into the in-house. In
Yeah.
some cases, what some enterprises are doing is that they are trying to run these solutions in a sandbox environment. They are not
Yes.
initially directly integrating with the rest of the organization. So you are trying to evaluate a solution, you bring into the sandbox, create a sandbox where you evaluate, where you believe that the solution is working as per the
Yes.
desired performance.
Mm.
Then you are taking the next step to integrate with the enterprise system.
Enterprise.
So it takes time. You can't directly bring in a solution and integrate on the day one itself.
Yeah.
You need to validate, and in the gradual process, you roll out to more and more users over a period of time.
Absolutely. No, no, this is super helpful, Vijay. Thank you so much for taking us with the entire. I mean, that CFO was a good thing. In the previous thing, when we mentioned CFO, so we never imagined that even CFO is playing a role and coming and asking. This is super helpful, Vijay. Now, I think we're coming to the end of our podcast, and would like to ask you a second last question, Vijay. What are your everyday routines? How do you keep yourself abreast of the knowledge and the technology? So, which are the maybe the books or video? I mean, audio books or the videos or which you hop on every day to keep yourself abreast of the knowledge, Vijay.
Yeah, so this is an important question. For the last 5 to 7 years, every day I used to think that I don't have to learn anything more, but it's not going to end, but it's happening in the opposite way. Like the way you said, obviously technology is changing so fast.
Yeah.
You need to keep ourselves up to date, especially when you are working on the niche technologies. You have to keep up to date with the technology. So there are multiple things I used to do. One, obviously talk to your teams
Hmm.
and learn from them, right? That's the first opportunity. Individually also, you need to read a lot, right? I used to follow some of the great research work done by the different organizations in the specific area where you want to know. Read a lot of research papers.
Okay.
Look at the real time real world implementations, right?
Okay.
Talk to the people who have done this, who are the peers in our
Hmm.
industry, or the
Hmm.
people from the other industry. Talk to them, attend the conference, right? So through
Hmm.
your network, talk to those experts. You share the learnings among each other. So what is
Hmm.
important is that either within the organization or within the industry, um, it is very very difficult for a single group or a single
Hmm.
person to be the to acquire the best of the knowledge, right? So you
Correct.
do something you learned in that process, share that learnings with your team within the organization.
Hmm.
I will give an example. Even if an
Yeah.
experiment is failed, right?
Yeah.
Share your learnings from the experiments. Why it didn't work,
Yeah.
right? What is required to make it work?
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
don't want other people to try out
Do
the
the
same
same
thing and
mistake.
fail
Yeah.
again, right? So if you are able to share your learnings, that is
Hmm.
more important. And I'll give you an example, right? So we used to identify an initiative, even if it is failed, what are the best learnings that we gain from that initiative so that others can learn more from it, right? We are
Yeah.
going to reward those things. So you need to build that kind of culture within our organization so that people are ready to do things and they're not afraid of the failure. They are
Yes.
learning quickly and they are sharing knowledge with others. They are trying to build the reusable components that others can use. Whatever the solution that are others building, you try to reuse from them. So first of all, you need to do things on your own. You learn things, you learn from your network, you share with the team,
Yeah.
and that learnings you share with an organization, and you participate in the industry forums. You gain from the industry piece so
Hmm.
that your company and the industry will go much faster.
Absolutely. I think you preempted my last question. I was about to ask the advice that you want to give. So I think you already shared the golden nuggets. I'll sum it up, which you said we should read the research papers. We should network. We should learn. I mean, even the mistakes that we have done, we should share. With the other and others should also. We should talk to the industry leaders. Not only just audio or something. We should attend conferences. Actually meet the people in person and learn. This was wonderful, Vijay. Sure, Vijay. I think thank you so much for joining us, and it was really insightful. And thank you for sharing the examples, the supply chain example that you shared. It was really helpful, and I look forward to be in touch with you and welcome you and host you in more such podcasts and workshops, Vijay. Thanks, Vijay.
Thank you, Nageshwari. It was really a wonderful discussion.
Thanks, Vijay.